guys, David Clayton here with GuitarBreakdown.com, and today we're going to break down another series of Tom Quayle licks. Now this is based on a video that was uploaded to YouTube about a week ago where Tom's demoing a speaker cabinet, and he's doing his normal freeform improvisation. This video was actually brought to my attention by a student of mine who wanted to learn some of these ideas. So after I learned these ideas and taught them to my student, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to share them with you because it's been a while since we've done a Tom Quayle lesson, and it's always fun doing those because he's amazing, obviously. But there's a lot of really cool concepts going on here. So if you're not familiar with melodic minor, this is a great introduction to that with, of course, the Tom Quayle-esque twist on it. And there's another really cool legato line, and we all love his legato stuff, so it'll be an opportunity to learn another one of those cool licks. And I just want to briefly touch on a subject real quickly about legato. If you're anything like some of my students or some guys I see posting on these videos, it seems like people get easily frustrated that their legato is not approaching the Tom Quayle level. And something you need to take into consideration is the fact that Tom's been doing this for a very long time. If you check some of his videos from 5 or 6 years ago, you'll notice that the legato isn't as smooth as it is now. It just takes time. And there's nothing you can do to push it faster than to just continue to practice and have blind faith that it will get better over time. So if you're practicing this stuff for like a week, a couple hours a week for maybe a month or two, and you expect to have the legato touch that Tom has after 5 or 6 years, it's kind of a false expectation. So just don't get frustrated, take your time, and know that it will happen. Again, Tom has become such a mature player. It's fun watching players evolve because after a few years of doing these lessons, watching Tom's playing really just mature in a way where his phrasing, his tone, his touch, his dynamics, everything is just so good now. He used to really focus on just these licks, and I don't know if that was his focus, but a lot of what he did was just really cool, long legato licks. But now he's actually focusing on melody and harmony and phrasing and dynamics, and there's so much more coming into his playing than just legato lines. So it's really impressive, and it's something that I love teaching my students because you see them evolve over the course of months or years, and you see it all kind of happening. So it's really fun as a teacher. All right, so let's get into the lesson now. If you click the description below, there's a bunch of links, and one of them will bring you to the video where Tom's actually playing these ideas. I'll put a time code in there, just like I always do, where the licks that we're teaching, where they are in that video. Now, if you haven't clicked subscribe and you like what we're doing, please subscribe. It helps us know you want to see more of these videos. And also, click the thumbs up if you like this video. It helps us know specifically what videos you guys want to see more of. Also, before we start real quick, let me run down the gear that I'm using because we get a lot of gear questions. I'm going into an RC booster by Exotic Effects. That's going into an EP booster by Exotic Effects. Going into the Strymon Blue Sky Reverb. Into an analog delay, an AD999 by Maxime. And that's all running into a Marshall 50th anniversary JTM 1-watt head. And that all goes into a Bogner 112 cabinet. Now we're going to do a review on the Marshall head at some point. It's a really cool head, and I've been using it for a while now. It's really simple, but it gets some really cool tones, so we'll go into that at some point too. So without further ado, let's get into the lesson. Alright, so we're just going to walk note for note through this whole thing, and at the end we'll get back into talking about some of the concepts and ideas that are going on, so that hopefully you can take some of this and incorporate it into your own playing. So this whole thing starts out with a chord ringing out, at least the section that we're starting on, right? And he adds a little vibrato by shaking the neck. So basically this chord, we'll analyze it later, but right now we're just going to show you how to play it. We're basing it off of an F minor chord. Okay? What it is it's an F minor major 7 chord, and it's your pinky on the 11th fret of the A string, then it goes down 1 string, back 1 fret on each of the other strings. So it's the 11th fret on the A string, 10th fret on the D string, 9th fret on the G string, and 8th fret on the B string. And then you can also play the open E string if you want. So you have Right? It's a really cool sounding chord. Now, to play over that chord, he's establishing that tonality. And then what he plays over it is melodic minor. He's playing F melodic minor. So this whole idea that happens after this is really just sequencing, running down this F melodic minor scale. So it starts out with playing the 8th fret and 9th fret of the B string. Right, just playing those two, and he plays those two notes pretty fast. So you have, and then he goes straight up to that E note on the 12th fret of the E string. So you have, and then he just walks down the scale, skipping the one note in the scale, or actually skipping two of the notes. He skips these two notes. So he goes from that 12th fret to the 8th fret on the E string. So you have, then he goes 9-8 on the B string to 10-9 on the G string. So that whole thing is, and then he goes right back up to that 8th fret on the B string. And then he just kind of runs down an arpeggio here from that 8th fret of the B string to the 9th fret of the G string to the 10th fret of the D string. And then he just walks down the scale from the 10th fret all on the D string, 10, 8, 6, 5. So that whole thing together is. Now, I'm not sure exactly how he's picking it and playing legato on here. I know he does a lot of legato, and I'm assuming there are certain points like the 9-8 on the B string he's pulling off. Then the 10-9 on the G string he's pulling off. Then I think he sweeps this arpeggio. He may pick that next note and then legato the next two, like pull off and then slide, or he may be legatoing all three of these notes. Based on the way he tends to play, I'm thinking it's probably all pull-offs. So the whole thing is. And then he just continues down that scale. So he goes, after he slides down to that 5th fret of the D string, he goes to the 8 and 7 on the A string. So the whole thing is. And then he plays he bars the 5th fret on the D and G string, and he just goes from the D to the G back to the D string, all on the 5th fret. Just bounces off those notes. So the whole thing. Now, one thing I just want to touch on real quick is that little arpeggio move. The way I play it, I start out with the first finger. Then your first finger's there. Now, if you come down with what you normally might think of doing, 1, 2, 3, those 3 fingers, you're going to have to slide those two. So you kind of have to twist your hand to play when you come down that arpeggio, you have your first finger on the 8th fret of the B string. Then you have your 3rd finger on the 9th fret of the G string. And then your 4th finger's on the 10th fret of the D string. And that allows you to have all these fingers to pull off with after that. So it's kind of a little twisting of the fingers. Then after he goes up that barring of the 5th fret, he goes to the 6th fret of the D string. So, and then he skips strings and goes to the 8th fret. All right, so the whole thing is. And then after he hits that 8th fret of the B string, he goes down an octave to the 5th fret of the D string. Right? So you have... And then after he plays the 5th fret of the D string, he goes to the 5th fret of the B string, and then he slides that up and down to the 6th, back to the 5. Right? So the whole thing is... Then he just goes down an arpeggio there from the 5th fret of the B string to the 5th fret of the G string to the 6th fret of the D string. And then he just goes down to the, after he gets to the 6th fret of the D string, he jumps all the way down to the 3rd fret of the D string to the 2nd fret he slides of the D string. So the whole thing is... And then when he gets to that 2nd fret of the D string, he slides up and down, kind of a typical thing that he does. He likes to bend notes, then slide between the same notes. So he's going from the 2nd fret to the 3rd fret, back to the 2nd fret on the D string, which again is kind of the same motif that happened down here. And in other lessons we've done on Tom Quayle, we've talked about his really great use of motifs, how he'll do an idea and then I'll go walk down the scale or up the scale and then I'll play that same kind of idea again. Well, that's what he's doing here. So then he goes down an arpeggio. After that slide, he goes from that 2nd fret of the D string to the 3rd fret of the A string to the 4th fret of the E string, back down to the F note, which is the 1st fret of the E string. So that whole phrase is... a little more up to tempo. And then what happens is when he gets to that F note, he plays this chord where it's the 1st fret of the E string, the 3rd fret of the A string, the 2nd fret of the D string, and then the 1st fret of the G string. And what that is that's your minor major 7 again. All right, same exact thing. So now, one thing you got to take into account too, he tunes all in 5ths. So the fingerings that we're doing here are all what are in standard tuning. If you want to learn this the way he tunes it, just tune down your bottom 2 strings so that everything's in 4ths.